Hey, this is Shane from Green Hills Guitar Studio, and today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna look at this song by Tom Petty called "Only a Broken Heart." It's off the Wildflowers record, and when I first heard this song, I really just loved it immediately. It kind of has a Beatles thing to it, but it's just a really great song, and I really like teaching this song to my songwriting students and to my guitar students for a couple reasons. So this is a really good one because it gets them moving around the neck, and we can talk about pentatonic scales without it being overwhelming, and we keep it focused on like phrasing and melody, and that's something they're familiar with as singers. That's what they focus on, so that helps them feel more comfortable. So I would encourage you, if you're a singer-songwriter, to take this approach to learning solos and kind of crafting your own, because it's a really effective way to go about it. So a couple things. On the recording, it's a 12-string. I'm going to play it on an acoustic guitar. You could play it on electric. If you have a 12-string, grab a 12-string, but I wanted to play it on acoustic so that you can just hear the line real clearly and not get overwhelmed with, oh, I don't have the right guitar, or I can't make that sound. The point of this lesson is to learn the solo, understand what's going on, and feel more comfortable moving across the neck, whether using a capo, just getting into these pentatonic scales. If you're a singer-songwriter or a guitar player, all of this stuff applies. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the PDF that you have that comes with this lesson. I mapped out all pentatonic scales in the key of A. That looks really overwhelming to a lot of people because it's the whole neck. But what you want to pay attention to is where are the root notes, right? So if you think about the chords that Mike Campbell's going to target, C, A minor, D minor, G. So he's going to play in a way that's going to move through these pentatonic scales. He's very aware of where he is in the chord progression. And he's not just kind of slamming. If you're a guitar player, it's really easy to just get into this pattern and just kind of play it. He is playing the pattern, but he's not just kind of blowing through it. He's creating a phrase. He's playing dynamically. He's thinking like a melodic line. That is where singer-songwriters have it easier, because singers just hear phrases. They know how to connect things together. Oftentimes, as guitar players, get caught up in our technique and we overlook that, and that's really important. We just kind of grab the shape and kind of just blow through it, because that's what happens a lot of the time in solos that we see. But this is kind of getting underneath it a little bit. So let's backtrack a little bit. Look at the top line is the pentatonic scales. I've written out all 5 scales. If you're a guitar player, you probably know a lot of these shapes and you know how they connect together. If you're a songwriter, don't get overwhelmed with that. I just want you to see that there's a map to the fretboard with these scales. You don't have to know them all right now, because right now you just need to know enough to learn this solo. And if you look at the line below, I kind of created a heat map of what gets used in the guitar solo. So you can see that right away, that top chunk, a lot of it disappears. So we're down to like 40% of what was there. And if you look at what's there, the note names are there, and you kind of see this diagonal. And you see people talk about this all the time online, is like this cheat or these hacks or this secret. It's not a secret, man. This has been going on for a long time. But you have to know how to use this pattern. And so down below, I wrote in these blue arrows. It's kind of like a shortcut through this. And every guitar player learns this eventually. So if you are a guitar player and you know this, just bear with me a second here. So if you're just beginning soloing, instead of getting overwhelmed by this information, we're just learning this solo, and we're trying to understand why he did what he did in the solo. It's because of the key, it's because of the chord progression, it's because of the melody that happens earlier in the song that Petty is singing. So he's pulling from all of those things to come up with this solo. So let's talk about this scale. A minor pentatonic. We're going to look for this A note. And if you follow the arrows, I show you how to move across the neck, and you want to practice this ascending and descending. This is where guitar players get in trouble. They'll work it ascending, but if they have to come down, they'll get lost or they'll start to stumble. So I'm going to play the pattern for you slowly, and then we're just going to jump into the solo, okay? So I'm going to start on this A, because that's the chord progression we're playing over. So what you want to do is practice that and get it under your fingers where you can move up and down pretty smoothly, and you can have that memorized, because that's going to come in handy when we tackle the solo. Okay, now a couple other things about the solo. I've talked about this in the Hey Joe course, and I talked about it in the last Mike Campbell video. Guitar players, we spend, I think, too much time working on just like chops, on picking technique and stuff like that. We don't spend enough time on phrasing and dynamics and these other things. So singer-songwriters are kind of really wary of scales. They get overwhelmed. They think they have to play like John Mayer, and you don't. But if you're interested in playing licks, coming up with nice little intros, guitar parts, this is right up your alley. But there are some things that you want to do. You have to work on your picking technique, and you want to learn these scales, have them under your fingers, and you work on hand strength and fluidity with your fingers, meaning you don't want to just be relying on your first finger all the time. So hammer-on, pull-off exercises, you'll find that online too. So I'm going to take you through some of these phrases, and then we're going to play the solo. So notice that lower part of the pentatonic scale. We're going to start with a hammer-on. And then another hammer-on. That's the phrase. And then he repeats it, the rhythm and the phrase. So notice how he's playing the melody, he's building a solo, he starts low, he starts working his way up, okay? So I'm going to play the solo, we're going to record it, and we might talk on the back end about some of these transitions, but I say we just jump in and play the solo. The way you want to learn the solo is not, hey, I'm going to start here and play all the way through the end. Learn it in phrases and be aware of your picking, your consistency with your hammer-on and pull-offs, playing dynamically, connecting the phrases. Move on to the next phrase, do the same thing, and then connect it to phrase 1, and then phrase 2. So you want to break it down in these chunks. And you can hear, if you just listen to the recording, you can hear these starts and these stops of these phrases and these rhythms. So I'll just go ahead and do it now. There's a pause there, and he's going to take off again. Notice the repetition of the rhythm and the phrasing. Pause there. Next phrase. He moves back down. Repetition of a phrase in a rhythm. So how does he know where he is? He knows this scale. He uses this in Breakdown. He uses this in Honeybee. In the Jimi Hendrix course, we talked about E minor pentatonic. It's the same information but moved around. So by learning this scale and getting it under your fingers, you get to take it to other keys, and it's going to be really handy. But you have to know where you're going. You don't want to stumble through it. Singer-songwriters they'll play by ear because they have really good ears, and then they kind of panic and they'll just start grabbing at things. And then they get off a fret and they think that they've done something wrong or they're a failure. The only thing that they've done wrong is they don't know the guitar neck and they haven't taken the time to work this out. But it's pretty easy to do. You learn the scale, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of it. Guitar players will kind of just blow through the scale and not really pay attention to what is going on in the chord progression, so they'll kind of end up on some weird notes. That's why this song is so great to learn for different levels of guitar players, singer-songwriters, learning the cage system, learning theory. Like, there's so much going on here that is so good. And it's so important because this is how you're gonna play, and this is how you're gonna work with others. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road when you're playing on sessions or working with a band or writing with other people. Okay, so let's jump in and do the solo. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit tricky because you have to come in a little bit before the track, the backing track, and the other guitar parts. You're going to come in on the and of 3, and guitar players and singer-songwriters are famous for guessing and hoping it all works out and not counting. So you need to count. So I'm going to give you a count to show you what I'm talking about, and then we're going to do the solo. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to cue you, and when I point, that's when the guitar entrance comes in. That's on the and of 3. And you can see this in the tab that I wrote everything out. But that's where you need to come in every time. So there's no guessing. You have to come in there. All right, so and of 3. All right, I'm going to play this again for you. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's play this solo. Any of this information that you want, the PDFs, the backing track, it can all be found in the All Access library. You get access to all the courses, everything for $10 a month. So I'll catch you next time. Have fun.